Greetings to all of you. My name is Steve Warner, and I'm the director and founder of the Notre Dame Folk Choir and director of liturgy resources for all of our residence halls on the campus of Notre Dame. I've been asked to speak to you by Tim O'Malley, the director of Notre Dame's Center for Liturgy, on the topic of the spirituality of a choir. I've been working at Notre Dame for more than 30 years, which means, by campus reckoning, that I've seen almost 8 generations of students through their 4-year journeys at Our Lady's University. It's my pleasure to speak with you over these next few sessions about what is at the heart of our musical and ministerial service, that is, our spiritual growth and common journey back to God.
All the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds and echoes in my soul. How can I keep from singing? No storm can shake my inmost love, while to that love I'm clinging. Since love is Lord of heaven, how can I keep from
About 2 years ago, I was having a conversation with a priest from another English-speaking country. He was complaining and quite mystified over what he called a national malady, that congregations simply weren't singing. And he used as his example a recent celebration of Christmas Eve Mass in his parish. We worked for weeks, he lamented, worked on the repertoire, recruited the singers, got them all pitch perfect, and then when it came to the Mass, the congregation just sat there and did nothing. We are good friends, this priest and I, so I knew I could ask him some direct questions. "Did you have a service sheet," I asked, "that had all the music for the songs in it?" "Well, no," he responded. "Did you use a cantor?" "We don't have the tradition of using cantors in our country," he said. Then I said, "Basically, you provided your assembly with a beautiful performance, because even though you prepared a feast for them, you didn't give them permission to actually partake of the feast with their own voices and hearts. What was missing," I said, "was giving the people overt permission to be a part of what you had planned. The choir isn't just there to be listened to. They are meant, first and foremost, to be leaven for the assembly." When I said these things to my presbyter friend, it was as if a light bulb had gone off inside his head. It was a whole different way of envisioning the role of a choir, not something to simply be heard, to marvel at. It was a way to see their work intimately tied up with finding the participatory voice of the faithful and bringing that voice to full expression. A choir is not there for show. They are there to be leaven. Now, granted, if you're listening to this set of talks, perhaps you already use service sheets and cantors, and maybe you even have a pretty good tradition of assembly singing at your parish. But you've logged onto this broadcast, presumably because you want to find out more about the spirituality of choirs, what keeps them focused, what helps them help other people pray, and what are some of the things that our own ensemble, the Notre Dame Folk Choir, has learned that might also be passed along to you. The focus of these talks is about the leaven, about those members of your parish, namely the choir, that keeps hearts and voices rising. And what I want to say to you at the outset is that if you're at the helm of a choral ensemble, then you are bound up with the responsibility of renewing the hearts and spirits of your singers, so that they, in turn, can renew those who gather around them in song and prayer every week. Of course, this is not your work alone. It is God's work, being done through you. But there are things we can do to make sure the leaven is active and fresh, that it is helping the bread of the assembly rise and become living bread for the world. This short set of talks will look at the story of our ensemble here at Notre Dame. I hope to share with you some of the things we do that allow our students to share their joy and the song and prayer that they hold within them with the faithful that gathers.
Unto us a child is born, come, let us adore. Unto us a son is given, Alleluia. Unto us a child is born, come, let us adore. Unto us a son is given, Alleluia. O shepherds, tell us, whom did you see? Proclaim the message, speak the word, who has now appeared on earth.
Let's say you're at Mass this Sunday, and you're singing in the choir. It's just after the Creed and the intercessions, and you're about to launch into a major musical piece that you and your fellow choristers have been working on for weeks. You pour yourself out. The choir nails the anthem, and you're about to hit that holy moment when the entire assembly has that reverential quiet that comes from savoring in the deepest reaches of the soul what you have offered in your musical prayer. You complete your song. There is a blessed moment of silence, a silence far more profound than ordinary quiet. In a mystical way, the song has actually prepared you for the silence that follows. Your soul has been taken somewhere deeper into the mystery of spiritual life. And all you've hoped to achieve in that song becomes evident in those quick, ineffable moments that follow the actual singing of the piece. What preceded your music? And what followed it? That would be silence. And as paradoxical as it might seem, it is essential that those of us who dare to make a holy noise should be respectful of the quiet that exists before and after our contributions. Silence is the canvas upon which a musician paints his or her sacred picture. An artist starts with a white canvas upon which to paint. Musicians start with silence. For both, the surface should not be cluttered, or the end product will suffer. So I want to ask you, do you cultivate a spirit of silence when you practice? I'm not just talking about being quiet during rehearsal. That is a practical thing. What I mean is this. At the end of the night's work, after all the note learning is done, do you take some time, serious time, to stop, be quiet, listen, to pray? Better yet, is it part of your choral program to actually go on retreat with your ensemble at least once a year? To intentionally set aside this kind of time does, in fact, truly define the labors of your ensemble. To be good witnesses of harmony, ambassadors of song and acclamation, we must also pursue a sense of interior quiet. And Lord knows you can't sing well if you don't listen. When do you provide opportunities for your ensemble to actually listen? For my own work, I've found that this needs to be an essential part of my rehearsal. In the folk choir, we've incorporated several things into the liturgical rhythm of our yearly work that helps us listen better, helps us pray, helps us be aware of the essential sacredness of quiet. The first thing we do is something that happens every year. We go on a retreat. And every other year, our retreat is an intentional pilgrimage to a place where we know we will find quiet, a Trappist monastery. Our ensemble has had a long and meaningful relationship with the monks of the Abbey of Gethsemane in Trappist, Kentucky. When we go there on retreat, our students prepare talks. We enter into the quiet of the monks' pattern of prayer. We have time to celebrate the sacraments. On the way down by bus, we disconnect our students from all the gadgets that distract them from quiet. Cell phones, iPods, computer tablets, gaming screens, whatevers. By the time we get to Louisville, just over the border into Kentucky, we've got about 45 minutes left to travel. By that time, journals and books are out, and electronics are stowed for the rest of the weekend. They won't touch these gadgets again until they return to campus. These trips away are special times, but silence and prayer cannot be maintained with just a once-a-year approach, no matter how profound the retreat. Every time we meet, we make sure that there is time for quiet. And we do this ritually. It's been a long-standing tradition in our ensemble. On Tuesday nights, about 10 minutes are given over to song, quiet, and a reflection on the coming week's scripture passages. For many years, we have sung Father Chrysogonus Waddell's chant setting of Hail, Holy Queen for our evening song, the conclusion of our rehearsal. All the lights in the choir room are turned off. The icon of the Blessed Virgin is surrounded by candlelight, and the soft chant fills that space. This setting of the Salve Regina, or Hail, Holy Queen, has special significance for us here at Notre Dame, but more on that a little later. On Thursday evenings, we conclude our rehearsals in a similar fashion, ritually, but with different music. Almost from the start of our evening practices 30 years ago, we have sung the old Welsh hymn, Day is Done, in 4-part harmony. Again, the lights go out, the icon is before us with candles. Then, in the quiet, I invite our singers and instrumentalists to pray aloud for any intentions they may be carrying in their heart. I would venture to say that these two rituals, Tuesday nights with the Salve, along with a brief scripture meditation, and Thursday nights with a singing of Day is Done, with personal intentions, these two weekly events really define us as a choir, and as a singing ensemble and community as well. And I'd also put forward that ritual prayer at rehearsal, rather than just a quick reciting of the Lord's Prayer or the Hail Mary, ritual prayer says many things without even being explicit. It speaks of intentionality. When we actually take time out to pray, it means we're taking time away from rehearsal. The mere minutes we devote to this exercise says something of the priority we place upon it. One of my favorite lines in the Psalms is taken from Psalm 51. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Even music rehearsals can renew that right spirit if they are intentionally crafted with spiritual growth in mind.